to touch on from the last episode, where we kind of talked about the people who were there. After kind of listening to another podcast, to a podcast called The Red Scare, where they kind of touched on this, and it makes sense to not think that these were just, which makes it even worse, right? That these weren't just poor, run-of-the-mill rednecks or whatnot, or uneducated and stuff. They pointed out the fact that we're talking about people who were able to have money. Even though flights are a lot cheaper than they were back in the day, not everybody, there's a lot of people who don't get on flights because they just can't afford it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, you're talking about people who in the middle of the week got on a plane to go to Colombia just to do a protest, right? And then also it's kind of like the ideological reason as to why they would do this, which is, again, it's just scary to think about, which is these people feel like what's the, we were talking about it in pre-production where you're like a lot of sometimes like the poor white people feel that, oh, I'm nowhere near the same as this poor black person because I'm only one. I'm a bad hand away from being a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can have the exact same economic stats as a black person, but you're like, no, you're there because you're lazy. I'm here because I'm temporarily, unlucky or something. I can't remember. It was either a comedian or somewhere that I saw that, and I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do have one thing to counter though, as far as like, saying that these aren't poor people because they can fly there and all that stuff. When you really care about something, like when you're really like obsessed, you will find a way, right? I know a lot of people who make their way to Coachella despite the fact that they don't, make that much money, or they make their way to Comic-Con, but they're on a McDonald's salary or whatever. The point of it is, yes, a lot of them are there because they can easily afford, like from a day's paycheck to fly there. Well, a lot of them are there because they really believe in this guy. This guy is their savior. Like if you hear a lot of these QAnon theories, literally every president that's come before, Republican and Democrats, are evil, they're corrupt, and somehow this is the one guy who isn't any of that. He doesn't come from the political class. He left his ivory towers to come down and save us from the snakes and lizards. And when you believe so thoroughly in someone like that, yeah, you will spend the money that you should be using towards, paying your rent or whatever to go and fly there, because this is Revolution Day, as Lauren Boebert, the congresswoman from Colorado, tweeted. This is D-Day. We got to make sure we're there, no matter how much it costs. I don't know what he did to get so far into people's heads, but there are a lot of people that are in there like that, and they just can't fathom that they are in the wrong.
And I can definitely say that I'm pretty certain there was a shitload of people who just probably like, yo, you should really be at your 3 o'clock shift at the Piggly Wiggly right now. Like, why are you not doing? And that's definitely not saying anything bad about grocery workers, but I'm just saying a lot of them are probably minimum wage people. Yeah, there was a few. I'm sure there was quite a bit of those. But I think one of the things that Donald Trump has touched on, though, is the people who feel like they're close to being a millionaire or a billionaire, right? Or hey, I drove my own success because they own their contractors, restaurant owners. They're like, I'm a businessman. Mm-hmm. This guy is a businessman. We're the same. Only difference is the dollar figures, right?
The only difference is he's made it now, and I can be like that.
And they're like, and then he is the one that's going to bump me over that threshold because he's going to drive capitalism to the point where now I can become a billionaire, a millionaire, get away from all these people who are just leeches and want socialism and all that stuff. Yeah. That's who he stepped into. And a lot of those people are middle-class people thinking I make $400,000 a year. I'm the same as this guy who makes $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
With your not. $400,000 is a lot of money. That's a good amount of money. That's a success. You make $400,000 a year. Your success. If I was at that price, I would be okay because I'm successful. Yeah, okay. Biden's gonna tax me a little bit. I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, billion for like they did this. I saw this graph where you saw like the time, like they basically just did a scroll,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to the 400,000 really in relatively like a second, like 30 seconds into the scrolling. Like it's just you scrolling and they're saying this is the equivalent of making $400,000. Takes a little while to get to the million.
Yeah.
To go to what Jeff Bezos has, which is like 400 billion or
140 something billion, I think.
Which now him and Musk are going back and forth because Musk got over this something, then he lost like $140 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
$100 million. And like if you scroll through that one, and if I could find that, I'm gonna send it to you so you can put it definitely and put it in the.
So basically, it's like if you make $1,000 a second, it gets to 400,000 fairly quickly. But to get to $1 billion, it's like much longer compared to
that's just 1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
1.2 becomes like it takes a lot to go from $1 billion to. I mean, it's easier for billionaires to get to that. But for the average Joe, the difference is incredible about going from 1 billion versus 1.3 billion is a big ass difference.
Yeah.
1 billion to 2 billion, like it's just like 400,000 to $1 billion. Like yo, like
you're not him. You're not
there. You're not him. You're not gonna be him.
But honestly, though,
and he doesn't give a damn about protecting you as much as you think he does.
Yeah, I think the last year, like this campaign, has really driven home for me how it was possible for so many people to get swindled by Trump University, right? Like so many people saw this thing that was clearly fraudulent. They would go to these seminars where they're told you get to meet Donald Trump, and instead they get to take pictures with cardboard cutouts. They're paying for these classes that aren't actually getting anything. And then at the end of the day, they go and sue like, hey, I didn't get this thing that you told me I'd get. I didn't, and then, Trump is like one of the most litigious businessmen of all time. They'll sue or whatever, they'll settle out of court. And people saw this. This was like a real thing that was in full view for everyone. And yet more people still bought into the lie. There's something about him that is captivating people, and people are just believing whatever he says. It's impressive. About him. It's impressive.
We might not fall for it, but Donald Trump is a charismatic individual.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
Yeah. You know why? He has that George Bush quality where he kind of seems like he's a idiot savant, but he's really not dumb. He's not dumb. He says a lot of dumb shit, but he's not dumb. He is. You can even say he's on some things a genius, especially when it comes to like getting people to do his bidding.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish I could like pinpoint what it is and say it's this thing that it's doing. That I can't. I literally cannot understand why so many people are enamored by him.
I get him being able to market himself as a certain person to get people to at least buy into listening to him, right? Yeah. I get the whole, hey, he's not a politician, so he's going to be different from these guys. He cares about me because he doesn't come from the political world. I was like, yeah, but dude, he's a billionaire. He's been a billionaire almost all his entire life. He is the swamp because the swamp caters to people like him.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? But anyway.
But just one last thing on that. There are people in government that you can tell they look at Trump and they only do his bidding because they know that it's politically expedient for them. That would be your Mitch McConnell, that would be your Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, those kind of guys, mostly in the Senate. Then there are people in Congress that I feel they really actually buy into this guy. That's the new Congresswoman, Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes. I think these people actually they're in it. You know, like Trump is their guy, ride or die, no matter what. Did you mention
the QAnon Barbie?
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh.
Yeah. I think they're like really in it. And it's shocking how people who are like supposed to lead other people can be so taken by a clear grifter, someone who's never cared about anything but himself. He clearly doesn't care about the country. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, it's strange. Marjorie Taylor Greene has already said she's going to file articles of impeachment.
You can't
Biden.
file an impeachment on somebody who hasn't been president.
Yeah, she's going to file articles of impeachment for overreach of power, I think is what she said, even though he hasn't even been sworn in yet.
Listen, obviously Biden isn't even in my top 5 of the people I would have liked to be president, but you can't convict him of something that he hasn't done. Like, do you really think Nancy Pelosi is taking her orders from Biden? No, Nancy Pelosi has her own power. She's freaking three. What is it? Oh no, she's Speaker of the House, right?
She is Speaker of the House, yeah.
Yeah, she's three freaking. She's
third in line. Third in line.
She's third in line to become president. Do you really think she's going to be needing to take orders from Biden? I mean, unless she's planning on doing a Underwood kind of tactic and getting herself into the.
Nah, stuff.
At 80 years old.
Yeah, no, Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to be president.
She definitely wants to be Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House is enough of a headache as it is. One thing that we didn't touch on before we get off this topic. Lauren Boebert. So I said that she tweeted 1776 Day on January 6th, an allusion to Independence Day or Revolution, sorry. She excuse me. She when they were huddled in the chambers, right? She was like tweeting like what they were doing. And then when the Secret Service moved Nancy Pelosi out of there, she tweeted, Nancy Pelosi has been moved out of the chambers. Yeah. And at the time, people were like, they weren't thinking anything about it. Afterwards, people were like, wait, are you like tweeting to the people that are storming the Capitol?
She was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bro, it's a coup. In any other country, we would have invaded them for doing this crap.
Yeah. So, I mean,
to stabilize them, because that's what we like to do. We like to stabilize countries by making them unstable.
Right. So I think the FBI actually is looking into Congress people that may have had a hand in this. I think that's
I know that they're looking into the Congress people that were actually in the actual.
Well, those are states like, you mean that spoke at the rally before?
Yeah, no, there was ones that were in there walking along with them.
No, because I know there was a state senator from West Virginia. I know there was like a mayor from a small town somewhere, but none of the actual U.S. House of Rep people, because those guys were in the Capitol because they were voting on.
No, I'm saying like I know they're looking into politicians.
Yeah, but
and actually active and whatnot.
Yeah, but the ones I'm talking about that the FBI might be looking at are like actual U.S. Congress people. Yeah.
Congressmen.
Because they talk about people that were given reconnaissance tours, people that were live tweeting, those kind of things. That's crazy, man. But anyway.
Hey,